Hey, it's Ellen Lewis from Crazy for You, and I bet you were wondering what mode at Rowan was going to do for spring and summer. I absolutely was curious to know what yarn they would be bringing in. And I'm pleased to tell you that it is an absolutely lovely cotton that we're going to dive into tonight. I think it is really nice. I was surprised at how much I liked knitting with it. And I think you're just going to love what they've done with the yarn and with the collection. And I have a surprise to show you with the way that it works at the end. So, hi, Amelia. Nice to see you. Okay, so let's have a look at this beautiful, beautiful yarn. Okay, here I had a fun time today swatching this yarn. The native gauge of this yarn is like 23. Okay, let's see what the ball band says. Ball band says 23 stitches, 22 stitches. Okay, so I swatched it as I always do at a variety of gauges. So this one right here actually ended up 23 stitches, and I did this on a US 3. I know it doesn't matter what size needle you're on, it's all about the gauge, but I just wanted to show you how pretty and firm it was. It makes just a really nice fabric, so it's very comfortable at a sport weight gauge. This next one I did at size 4 needle, and I got 22 stitches. And they're just kind of moving up. This is its kind of its native gauge right in here, 22 and a quarter, 22 right in here. And then up here, I think it begins to kind of fall apart. It sort of loses its structure. You could certainly do something like that, but you would have to know that it was going to be a really lacy or open kind of fabric. So I just wanted to show you real quick the gauge, but the yarn itself, it's put up in 50-gram balls. It is 100% non-mercerized cotton, but even though it's not mercerized, it has a beautiful sheen. Can you see the lovely sheen on that? And it has, like I said, very little loft, as you would expect with a cotton. And it has 116 yards in the 50 grams. So I think these are just cute little dumpling-like balls. It reminds me very much of cotton glacé. If you have ever knit with cotton glacé, it feels a little bit like that, only it's not quite as hard because it isn't mercerized. So it doesn't have quite that same sheen, but beautiful stuff. And I'm not a huge fan of knitting with cotton. It can hurt my hands sometimes, but I didn't have any problem knitting with this. I used both my Addy Rockets for some of the swatching, and I used my Rowan wooden needles for some of the swatching, and all of it was absolutely perfect with it. It wasn't splitty. Now, in all honesty, I carry in my right hand, and this is an S-twist yarn, so it wouldn't be splitty for me. If you are a left-hand carry, you might want to let the yarn retwist every row just to make sure that you're not untwisting it so that you don't find it splitty at all. But honestly, I found it absolutely beautiful to work with and a really, really lovely, lovely fabric. The drape of this and the feel of it, you know, even here where it is kind of, excuse me, where I did it on the smallest needle, where it's just a smidge smaller than recommended, it has a beautiful fabric. It doesn't feel stiff. I would absolutely wear a garment in any of these gauges, right? Lovely, silky, you know, as you would expect from a high quality cotton. So this is a quality cotton. It's not an Egyptian cotton or Supima, but it is a long staple cotton, which is important because with a long staple cotton, you don't have to twist it as hard to get it to stay together. So it's got just kind of what I call the right twist. Let's have a look again at the fabric close up. So you can see that it has really great stitch definition. I think the stitches are very, very pronounced, and I think they're pretty balanced. You know, you don't notice one side of this stitch leaning over or, you know, that look that you sometimes get with a high twist merino where the stitches are not quite so balanced and vertical. I think this is a really, really great yarn. So let me say hi to everybody. So nice to see you, Amelia and Debbie and Glenn and Terry and Norma and Amy. Amy says she's excited about this yarn. So tell me why you are most excited about it. I will tell you one of the things that people have been absolutely shocked by is the price point. So I'm not going to say a price on here because different stores and different areas charge different amounts for the yarns. I think it is on the Rowan website at something like $6.50 a skein, which is a fabulously low price. I mean, anybody who has shopped yarn recently knows that most cottons are twice that, right? So this is in keeping with Mode's commitment to being accessible and inclusive. And the market that they're trying to reach here, I think, is slightly different than the market that your standard Rowan is reaching for. So a very, very affordable yarn. It's an affordable luxury, I want to call it, because it definitely doesn't feel like an inexpensive cotton to me. And I've knit with some inexpensive cottons, and this does not have that feel. So it's a beautiful yarn that is just shockingly inexpensive, right? So you could knit. I had kits on the in the newsletter this week, and people were just shocked that they could knit a tee for like $50. You know, you take eight or nine skeins, 7, 8, or 9 skeins, depending on the size, at $6, and you're looking at a very reasonably priced summer garment. So I think that's really cool. Let's see. Hey, Jal. Hey, Billy and Danette. Danette has a question. How does this compare to Summerlight DK? Okay, so Summerlight DK is slightly heavier and it's also more brushed. It is made of a name cotton. It's an Egyptian cotton, so it has more of your luxury components. But I think this is a very nice alternative. It doesn't have this same sort of soft halo that Summerlight does, but I like it very well. And I've knit a sweater with Summerlight DK that I like a lot, and I think I will like this one also. Summerlight DK has an expansive palette, and that's another aspect of some of the Mode yarns. They have 10 colors, right? And maybe that's part of the way they keep the price down. And maybe it's just that they're adhering to more of a tight sort of capsule wardrobe palette. I don't know for sure, but I do know that it's a quality yarn and it has a nice tight palette, which I will share with you in a minute. Karen has a question. The third swatch, what is the needle size? Okay, so let's have a look at that. So remember that you don't want to think about what the needle size is because everybody knits differently. But this is a gauge of 22 stitches over 4 inches, which is the yarn's recommended gauge. When you look at the ball band, that's what it says you should be getting. So this is a nice fabric. It's not too tight. It's not too loose. This is definitely, can you see how sort of tight that is? This is also nice, but as I said, this is the native gauge. When you get up into here, we're looking more at 20 stitches to 4 inches, and this one is more like 22. And just to be transparent, I did that on a US 6. So I did a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was how I went. But again, your gauge and the needle size that you need to get that is going to be very different. Okay, another question is, how does it compare to Cotton Revive? Okay, this is completely different from Cotton Revive. This is a plied yarn. If we look at this close up, the yarn itself has, as you would expect, multiple plies. Can you see? I haven't counted them, but it's at least four plies there. Yeah, so this is a 4-ply yarn. And if you recall, Cotton Revive is a chainette yarn. So they have a completely different hand, completely different amount of elasticity, completely different weight, physical weight per yardage. So it's like they're apples and oranges. You can't really compare these two yarns at all. The best comparison is, as Danette said, Summerlight 4-ply, or as I mentioned earlier, cotton glacé. So it's much more like those two yarns. Like I said, it comes in this tight little ball, which doesn't like to be on the shelf. So rather than putting it on the shelf in the beautiful mode display we have in the shop, I put it in baskets so it doesn't roll around and fall all over the floor. So let me share with you the color palette. All right. And the first is this beautiful white. This is called Pearl. And it's a white like you really can only get in cotton unless you bleach the life out of wool. So Pearl is just a beautiful, clean summer white color. And then Macaroon is a slightly off-white. So you can see the difference here. Macaroon and Pearl here. So the Macaroon is just ever so slightly off-white. And it's nice that they have done this, recognized that in our whole complexion, there's people who can wear dead white really well, and then there's people who need an off-white, a little more warmth in their complexion. Not in their complexion, but in their clothing to better flatter their complexion. So this one is called Latte, and this is, it's coffee with a lot of cream. If I had this much cream in my coffee, I'd be very unhappy, but some people like a lot of cream. So that's color 13 Latte, very pretty. And then this is the color that I swatched. This is called Celeste, and it's a slightly greenish blue. Can you tell that from, it looks in my camera a little bit blue, but it definitely is a warmer, there's definitely a little bit of green in this blue. So I think it's a nice flattering blue for a wide variety of people. And then this color is Denim, which is sort of a darker version. Also a warmish blue. This is the Celeste and this is the Denim. Very pretty. And then of course we have a classic navy. Right, really pretty. This is a, classic summer combination. And then we have this Fossil, which is a gray, pale gray tone. And the next color, I'm not sure which one I want to show you next. This is 18. Okay, so this is Bubblegum. And I will tell you that, again, Mode is doing like a basic palette with some pop colors. And this is one of their pop colors. So this is Bubblegum, which is just a beautiful, very clean, soft pink. When you think of baby pink, this is it, right? It's a beautiful color. It really is. And then this is called Crepe. which you're like, okay, why would you need two pinks in the line? But they're they're really different. So you can see that this is the bubble gum here, and then this is the crepe. And it's really just sort of has a little bit of gray added to it. So it's a pink with a little gray, so it's sort of softened. A very wearable shade. This is a nice pink, and it's a little sophisticated. Do you know what I mean? So it's a tone, right? When you think about colors, you have a clear color, and if you add white to it, you get a tint. If you add black to it, you get a shade. And if you add gray to it, you get a tone. So this is really a pink tone. So they've had gray to it. It's grayed down. And I laugh when I hold these two up. They're both pink. I feel like that scene from The Devil Wears Prada, where the two identical cerulean blue belts, oh, they're so different. Okay, well, they actually kind of are different. But I think they're pretty. So Danette likes the Celeste, and Amelia says, I actually like that dusty pink. Yes, I think this is a really, really wearable, sophisticated tone. And, it definitely reads pink, So nobody's going to look at that and say, you're not wearing a pink sweater. It's definitely a pink sweater, but it's not pink the way that this is pink. So it's a little more, as I say, sophisticated pink. And then the last is this fabulous, fun pistachio, which is just everything you would expect. It's a beautiful, bright yellow green that goes perfectly with that bubblegum color. I also think it's really nice with both of these sort of blues, in case you were thinking of stripes. So gorgeous, gorgeous color palette. And again, 10 colors. So very kind of capsule wardrobe-y, and it leaves them room to introduce another color, another color in this product line next spring. Maybe they'll put a purple in, like I was saying last year about what they were going to do with the regular mode. They're going to add a new sort of seasonal color each season and not make it go away, but just gently and slowly expand the palette. So I think that's really cool. So the other thing that they are doing this year, in addition to having a beautiful line of garments that are knit just in the cotton DK, they have used Alpaca Haze from last season to carry with in some of the some of the garments. And I did swatches of that, and I got to tell you, I really, really like this. So let me show you what this looks like. Okay, so with the Alpaca Haze, so here's the color I swatched. You see these two together, the Celeste, and then this is the kind of pale blue. I'm sorry, but I can't remember the name of this color of the Alpaca Haze, but it's the pale blue. Together, they just make a lovely, lovely fabric. And this Alpaca Haze, I don't know if you knit with it last season at all, but it is so incredibly light. Really, really light and soft and beautiful. But it makes this fabric, when you knit it, so smooshy and lovely. So here is my swatch on an 8 with nothing. And then I added the Alpaca Haze to it, and I worked it on an 8, and you can see that it is just, really, really nice, really fleshed out. And the color, it's just such a lovely, soft color. It's beautiful. The other thing I like about carrying these two yarns together, look at how, can you see how where the Alpaca Haze sits in front versus where it sits behind? It kind of gives you a sophisticated and complex fabric where you have a little bit of that sheen of the cotton showing through and then a little bit of the matte. It's just a beautiful, even on the pearl side. It's just beautiful. So I love the way that this combination of the cotton DK and the Alpaca Haze gives you a different fabric with the sheen and the matte coming at different points. So even a plain stockinette garment would be just lovely in this fabric. So I think that's really, really pretty. And I did another swatch on a larger needle. This I did on an 8. This I did on a 9. And with the addition of that Alpaca Haze, I think you can certainly work that fabric at, let's see, I've got 24 stitches on here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, 4 stitches to the inch. And that makes a very nice fabric for summer. Believe it or not, the addition of that little bit of Alpaca Haze isn't enough, I think, to give you any kind of a sweaty quality. You know, it's so light. And what it does is it makes you able to have a kind of a not bulky, but a garment that's knit at a looser gauge. It gives it loft so that it's very light in the wearing. You know, if this cotton were up, 4 stitches to the inch by itself, then you'd have this, which is actually a very heavy kind of garment. Danette, what is the gauge on those swatches with the Alpaca Haze? Okay, so I knew you were going to ask me, so I just finished them. This is 24 stitches, I think I cast on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right. Let me get my little pencil out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 stitches here on the 8. Whoops, you didn't see that. 18 stitches here on the US 8. And I imagine we have 16 stitches over 4 inches here on the US 9. Yeah, you can see I've got four stitches to the inch, 8, 12. Yeah, so 16 stitches. And that's really more governed by the size needle that I used. I have another swatch going here that I was going to try it on a 10.5 just to see how loose I could make it and how I felt about that. And I think it's going to be fine. I think on a 10.5 or an 11, it would be fine for something like one of the Cocoa Knits projects where you have a very loose, open fabric. Part of the appeal for me of carrying the cotton with the Alpaca Haze is, I love 2 strands together because you get a bulkier fabric, but it maintains its drape because each individual yarn maintains its independent drape. So together you have a drapier fabric than you would if you were just dealing with a yarn that knit at that gauge singly, right? So tell me what you think. Do you like it so far? I want to share with you the colors that have matching partners in the Alpaca Haze range. So let me share this with you. Okay, so obviously we have this jasmine color, which is the white Alpaca Haze, and that would go with either the white or the off-white, sort of right in between there. Right? This might be better actually if I show you up here. So let's do that. Okay, so here is the jasmine that works with both whites, right? So that would be really pretty. And then there is this one called Silk that works beautifully with the latte. That would be a very elegant little sweater. And then, of course, I am doing the blue. I can't remember. I said this might actually be called Celeste also. I have to look. With the Celeste, I'm not sure that I would put it with the darker. I tend to like things a little closer in color so that I don't get a marled effect, but these two are good. And then obviously the navy and the navy is a perfect lineup. Very pretty. This fossil goes beautifully with the silver. Lovely combination there. Now, you're not going to agree with me, but this would actually work with either of the pinks. Now, this is called Peony. This is the peony color of Alpaca Haze. And I know it looks substantially different than either of the pinks, but this is why I have this pink strand out here. When you actually hold them together and knit them together, or as I often do, just wrap, twist them together, you can see that it's actually fine. The Alpaca Haze is so light that you really don't, you get a beautiful blending. So that would work with either of those. Sadly, there isn't a green that I would say goes perfectly with the pistachio. The green that we had in the mode palette last season for Alpaca Haze was not quite so yellowy. So this is probably one that might be better off on its own. Yeah, so that's the palette, and I'd love to hear what you think about the palette, and then we can look real quickly at the some of the designs, not all of them because we don't have time to look at all of them, but I do want to look at some of them with you. So let's see. Okay. So you can see these on Ravelry. This is Pedrine, which is just a beautiful cardigan. It's very ladylike. It has a lovely set-in sleeve, and that's worked in the cotton DK all by itself, which is really pretty. I'm going to give you a whole screen on that. There you go. Okay, so I think that's really pretty. This is Katrine, a little interesting little tank. Easy to make. This has this boat neck, and I think there's just no shaping on that. I think the idea is that this is super easy to knit. This is knit in that crepe color, so you can see how that looks worked up. I think it is, as I said, it definitely reads pink. Lisbeth is a cute little long vest. A great wardrobe piece shown in a sapphire. And this is one of the ones they did in just Alpaca Haze by itself. So they have a certain number of garments in the collection just in Alpaca Haze. I'm not really focusing on that tonight, but I think this is a pretty little garment, worked top down. This they show in two versions, Astrid, which is super cute, just a little cap sleeved sweater for summer. They've got it in the white and the latte, which is super cute, and in the sapphire. So I think that's just an easy fitting, easy to wear summer garment that, would absolutely be fun. This is Wilhelmine. Very nice, open, kind of lacy thing. I think this is worked top down. Nope, worked flat and seamed. This one is familiar. Many of you remember something very similar to this in one of the mode collections. I love this little collar on here. Super cute, very pretty and interesting little mistake rib going on. That is just super sporty. If you are someone who loves a polo shirt, that is the sweater for you. This is one of the ones that I featured in the newsletter. It is seamed. This is Hannah, a V-neck. Look at that beautiful mitering they have at the neckline. Just a little drop shoulder. So super easy to knit, easy to wear. This is super cute with the cables, very oversized drop shoulder. It has a nice split at the side. You see the detailing here where they have the cable run either side of the split. I think this is very pretty. And they've definitely knit that at a looser gauge, it looks like to me. They say it's 22, but when I look at that fabric, to me it looks a little looser than 22, but I'm sure the pattern is written for 22 stitches at 4 inches. This they show in 2 different versions, Lars. So there's this kind of fisherman's rib with sleeves, and that is with the cotton DK and the Alpaca Haze. And then there's another one that has no sleeves, and we will get to that. Where is it? We'll have to find that. We'll come to it. This is Sigrid. And this is worked with the 2 yarns together, top down in the round, reminiscent of the anchor sweater with this yoke construction in that beautiful bubblegum pink. And you can see that that's in the bubblegum pink and the peony together. So it definitely works. Yeah, let's see. This is Inga. If anybody knit the moss cardigan with me, it's very similar to that with a mistake rib, very generously sized, beautiful kind of throw over whatever you have on kind of thing. Pretty lacy little cardigan. Worked on it in its own, just with the cotton DK by itself. This is worked with the cotton DK and the Alpaca Haze, and this is that crepe color plus the peony, which is very pretty. This reminds me of you, Amy. Very ladylike and lacy. This is a crocheted wrap in that Celeste color. And that's the Celeste plus the blue, or the pale blue that I was swatching. Cute little top here. Simple little kind of old shale feather and fan kind of garment in the cotton DK. This one I think is also, this is kind of interesting. So you can see that, let me bring this up full screen. You can see that has this picot sort of edge. And if you look at the back, I love that shape. Then if you look at the back, it's got this sort of crisscross thing, which I think is really pretty. And what else we got? Just a couple more. So this is Lars without the sleeves. That fisherman's rib, little cap sleeve kind of deal. And I believe this is just the Alpaca Haze held double. This is Soren, and this is Alpaca Haze. So very light and lovely. This is worked top down. And this is Elsie. This is another top down in the round raglan sweater in the cotton DK by itself. I featured this in the newsletter. And then This is Clady, which I really like. This is a set-in sleeve V-neck. Just simple, basic, perfect wardrobe piece. And the last one is Jen, and this is a crocheted top. Worked in the Summerlight DK. So that is the design collection. And I'm interested to hear what you think about that. Jana likes them, cute summer tops. Amelia likes the sleeveless version of Lars. Yeah, that's pretty. And that's, again, with the Alpaca Haze held double. So a very lovely light fabric. Hi, Judy. It's nice to see you. Welcome from England. Must be getting very late there. So, yeah, Maria said that she got a notification from Rowan and was all sold out. Oh, well, we still have it in our web store. Yeah. So, yeah, I am delighted to have this yarn. I am pleasantly surprised at how much I like the Cotton DK by itself and how much I like it with the Alpaca Haze. So this is something that I just wanted to show you kind of at the end, how this looks and what kind of garments you can do with this. So I can see myself making something like this for spring. And it also makes a beautiful transitional fabric. But I don't see this as uncomfortable for the summer. It would make a lovely little cardigan and it would knit up so quickly and be really light and beautiful. Judy says it's 12:30 in the morning and she is up knitting. Wow. Well, I'm glad you could be here. So Lori came in and got yarn for this. She's going to do Clady instead of the neat sweater. All right, the neat sweater is what we're doing in Club Crazy for You. And if you want to do Clady instead, that would be absolutely, absolutely fine. It'll be absolutely beautiful. So there is your first look at the Cotton DK, and I expect later in the season I'll have some samples knitted up and maybe get a trunk show, and I will share that with you again. And until then, keep knitting and create something beautiful. I'll see you next week.